The good news is that cultural Marxism is real. The bad news is that people believe it is anyway. The claim that left-wing intellectuals are trying to destroy the foundations of Western society is gaining traction in Australia. And the worst news is this: even if the idea is factually untrue, it can still have an impact on politics. Cultural Marxism is a viral falsehood used by far-right figures, conspiracy theorists, and pundits to explain many ills of the modern world. A search of archives shows right-wing columnist Andrew Bolt first mentioned it in his writing in 2002. More recently, former Labour opposition leader Mark Latham in a column, claimed that it was a powerful movement dominating about 80% of public life. University of Melbourne International Relations lecturer Daniel R. McCarthy says Latham and others are using the term rhetorically to paint opponents of their political positions in a bad light. They label movements for LGBT rights as Marxist in the hopes that this will frighten people into voting against things like gay marriage, McCarthy says. This is a clever rhetorical strategy, if dishonest or, charitably, simply deeply confused. McCarthy makes a firm distinction between Marxist theorists originating in the 20th century and today's concept of cultural Marxism. There are Marxists or critical social theorists who study culture, McCarthy says. What Latham and colleagues are talking about is entirely different. Their arguments, which verge onto the terrain of conspiracy theorizing, understand social movements that they do not like as part of a cultural Marxist political strategy to first colonize the terrain of public culture prior to taking over society as a whole, he says. A 2003 article from the US-based Southern Poverty Law Center described cultural Marxism as a conspiracy theory with an anti-Semitic twist that was then being pushed by much of the American right. In a nutshell, the theory posits that a tiny group of Jewish philosophers who fled Germany in the 1930s and set up shop at Columbia University in New York City devised an unorthodox form of Marxism that took aim at American society's culture, rather than its economic system, the report states. Unfortunately, Google Trends indicate a steadily rising interest in the term in Australia. Latham was emailed for comment on this article but did not reply. Arizona State University professor Braden Allenby says the word Marxism in many places is already a loaded term, so the use of cultural Marxism sometimes is an effort to short-circuit analysis or dialogue by implying that the individual or organization so tagged is beyond the pale of rational discourse. In that sense, it becomes part of warring narratives, a dog whistle to others in your community. With the original meaning of cultural Marxism lost, Allenby says, such terms simply become higher-level symbols of belonging and community. Allenby pioneered the study of what's known as a weaponized narrative, a form of information attack using ideas, words and images to drive wedges into society, weakening it overall. He believes the use of the term cultural Marxism indicates that the dynamics of weaponized narrative might be at play.